Welcome back to the Bold Podcast. I'm Todd Birch, and I'm thrilled to be your guide on this inspiring journey of personal growth and leadership. Together with my guests, we'll dive into transformational stories, uncovering how small, intentional changes can create massive positive results in your life. From overcoming challenges and setting impactful goals to building lasting habits and living with confidence, health, and positivity, we'll explore it all. And if you're ready to embrace a growth mindset and unlock the best version of yourself, then let's spark that transformation today. Today on the Bold Podcast, we're joined by Dr.LauraAldape, an emotional intelligence coach with a PhD in behavioral economics, specializing in personal and professional growth through emotional intelligence skills. As an experienced coach, speaker, and founder of Emotions at Work, Laura shares powerful techniques for transforming outdated mindsets, improving communication, and fostering resilience. Her work, backed by years of research and client success, empowers people to unlock their potential and thrive. Laura's new book, Optical Emotions, explores how our ingrained mental lenses impact our thoughts, emotions, and actions. Using a unique eyewear analogy, she illustrates how our outdated mindsets can distort reality and shares practical tools to realign our perspectives, foster a more positive and empowered approach to life and work. Listeners, get ready to level up your emotional intelligence skills. Laura, welcome to the Bolt Podcast.
Thank you, Todd. Thank you for having me here.
Yeah, I've been so excited about this all week. I've been getting into the book, so I know we're going to talk a lot about the book and a lot about your background and experience. So I'm just happy that you're taking some time out of your day coming from Switzerland, right?
That's right. I'm living in Zurich, so happy to also be here with several audiences across the globe.
Yes, podcasting is such a beautiful thing, and to be able to connect with you through LinkedIn. We had a mutual connection with Christopher Carter. He was my first guest on my podcast. So that was a great episode. He's a great guy. So I reached out and here we are having a conversation. So this is awesome. So I'm going to start off, Laura, by asking, how are you feeling today?
Thank you for the question. I'm feeling happy, very happy to be here with you. And also, if I can say, vulnerable when you speak about something that you're passionate about and you're going to put some things that are very dear to you, you can also face a little bit of fear of not having the same resonance with the audience. So it's a mixture of happiness. This is paradox of emotion, very happy and at the same time a little bit scared.
Right. And that's the beauty of emotional intelligence, right?
Exactly.
Just being self-aware. Awesome. Well, I'm feeling the same. I'm feeling joy, happiness, but also, a little vulnerable, as I'm putting myself out there as well. And I'm excited. I want this to be an amazing episode. I want to do you justice. You're giving me some of your time, and you just published this awesome book. So I'm just excited. All
Thank
right.
you.
So let's get into it. If we could just start off, I know emotional intelligence, EI, EQ has been around for a while, but a lot of people don't really know what it is. And I know COVID, the pandemic, really brought it to light. So the past 4 or 5 years, it's became synonymous with mindset, mindfulness, self-awareness, self-love, all these different buzzwords. So if you could, Laura, just kind of take our audience through what this is, what this is all about.
Yes. So, as you said, emotional intelligence have been for a while here. But now with the changing world and with so many things happening, as you mentioned, these are tools, these are social skills, let's say, in this way, that allow us to navigate life in a more intentional manner. So the moment we decide to look to ourselves, look inside, and start making this self-awareness journey, which is the basis of emotional intelligence, then we're equipped with better tools to navigate all of these challenging times, because we're going to be faced by changes every single day, minor ones at days, sometimes bigger ones. But I would totally recommend to do this internal work of looking inside, the self-awareness, as I mentioned, the basis of emotional intelligence, and try to dig in which tools can I bring to my backpack to navigate life, as I mentioned, in a more intentional manner.
Absolutely. Yes. Thank you for sharing that. And I think the key word there is tools. You know,
Yes.
we can be aware, but we got to have the tools to be able to do the work, do the exercises. And that's what this episode's all about. You're going to give us some great tools from your book that will help our listeners really level up their EI.
It's going to the mental gym. If we have to say it in a way, let's go to
Yeah.
the mental gym. We have to
Yes.
put ourselves some hours and get some gear in order to
Yep.
be open to go to this mental gym.
Yep. I love that. Absolutely. Yep. Just like we go to the gym to build our muscles, right? And we have to push them to their limit before they can actually become a habit and really do us work and move us forward, right? We have to feel a little bit of pain and we have to do the reps, just like Malcolm Gladwell says. You know, you got to put the time in, you got to do the work. So nothing's easy, but I'm a testament to it does work and it will change your life. So
Yes.
great. So as I mentioned in the bio introducing you, you have a PhD in behavioral economics, which by the way, I find fascinating, behavioral economics. Just can you give our listeners just a little knowledge on the difference between behavioral economics and economics, and then explain why you got into this really fascinating field? Because you've spent the last 20 years in this field in deep research.
Exactly. My first degree is a bachelor in economics, and there I got just a grip of how the economic world is working. And this was very driven about supply and demand, things which we think are rigid. The part of economics that considers how the behavior of a human being and the impact on the economy is the part of behavioral economics. And this is more, let's say, the more creative part of the economics studies, because we cannot deny that we have behaviors which economically are in our benefit, but we also make behaviors or do things or habits which are not in our best interest. So how can we measure this? What is the impact, not only for myself, but for my community and in a bigger extent for an economic structure? The contextual behavior of how I act or react has a big saying on how do I perceive the world and how comfortable do I feel with my environment. And that's what economical behavior tries to pin down, the behaviors that are really supporting us and the ones which are not really helping us move forward.
Right. No, that's great. And so why did you get into this field? Did you
I
always
got it.
envision yourself here 20 years, later?
I mean, it was a mixture of interest, but also somehow it things just evolve into that direction.
Hmm.
I was working for a private equity company here in Zurich, and they were looking for a student who will then take the topic of private equity and hedge funds and see why this type of investments were very at that time in 2006 7 before the major crash. Why were they at the forefront compared to other products? And then the idea was to measure Switzerland compared to London and Singapore. And the research it did continuously was not it always came back to the same things. It was not what gave the asset manager or the company or the hedge fund. The product was not what it has saying by itself. It was the stakeholder management, how they treat their customers, what type of personalized service they were giving to their consumers or to their clients, what makes the difference at the end of the day. So everything at the end of the day had nothing to do with some part of the financial structure, yes, but what really drove this behavior of why people will invest with some companies compared to other ones was the social characteristics of their asset manager.
Hmm.
So it went down once and again to social skills, social skills, social skills. And what was that basically? Emotional intelligence, how assertive I am, how do I deal with stakeholders, how do I take decisions, how do I navigate through resilience, am I stress tolerant or not? And this is what was the major finding of this 5, 6 years research. And that's when I decided, okay, the economical part, yes, it has a big saying to it, but let me focus on this not so easy to measure aspect, which is our habits, our behaviors.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the story.
Well, that's awesome. Well, we're grateful that you spent this time because the result of that is this book that we're going to get to. I think this is a good segue into talking about mindsets. I know you have some strong opinions and thoughts about a growth mindset, and I know there's a lot of discussions about, what that really is, a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset. Can you tell us a little bit about just your thoughts behind a mindset, and then this will kind of set us up for talking about the book?
Yes, so this is the starting point of the book where I describe how a mindset was created or formed. And this is explained through the circle of experience. As you know, we are constantly being bombarded by emotions and thoughts. So it's thought and emotions going from the amygdala to the prefrontal cortex the whole day, backfiring back and forth. Those emotions and thoughts will bring us to create some habits. Habits that we do constantly and without really going to the conscious level become a behavior, a constant behavior that we are not really questioning at times. This behavior will then create an action and then we will have a result. And then we decide, oh, I'm doing this. No matter what happens in my life, I end up seeing the world and judging the world and create a narrative of the world through the same glasses or through the same lenses. And that's because the triggering point, the original emotions and thoughts, are going into this linking system that at the end, if we don't shake one of these links or one of these pillars of this process, we will end up with the same mindset. So what we try to do is to have a mindset that is a little bit more that you can stretch. So a growth mindset, a mindset that you can challenge, to go internally and to see, is this mindset really propelling me to the next steps or to the situation that I'm currently going through, or this mindset is really falling short of what I need in order to be a little bit more efficient or effective in what is currently happening in my environment. So mindsets can be changed, but it's going, as we said, to the mental gym. You need to be first aware that you're doing things in a recurring manner and you're being stuck in a
Mm-hmm.
way, and willing to go out of that comfort zone, because these mindsets were created when we were young. They are created
Mm-hmm.
by different things. It's a DNA, so disposition that we have from our parents, but it's also how we were socialized, and part of it is how do we process information. So we have been doing this for many years, and normally these mindsets were created when we lacked the emotional intelligence and the awareness of where do we want to be or what do we want it to say to the world. This is created in our early years, and we need then to reconfigure, to upgrade those mindsets, because the circumstances that we're living are not the same ones that we had in high school, when you're in college, or when you're a parent. You need really to re-challenge these mindsets to see if they're fitting to your current life situation or environment. And this is what we want to encourage our listeners to go there, go to the mental gym, get the impulse to go and do some changes in their lives.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. And I think it goes back to, like you said, doing an audit on a regular basis. So I do this twice a year. So I'll do it in June, and then I'll do it in December as we approach the new year. And I have kind of a life optimization audit tool that hits all of my pillars in life. And I do this with my wife as well. And we go through it and we just see if we're really aligned. And I think everybody would benefit from doing this audit or alignment check-in, if you will. It's easy. It's a good practice to get into. And I think the thing to be reminded of is, as we go through life, and we were just talking about this, I was talking about this with a friend the other day, everyone has different seasons in life. And as you enter into a season, it could be a milestone of a season where you're getting married for the first time, or having your first child, or getting this big new promotion, or maybe you're moving to a new town or a new country. That's a big change, and that's a good time to evaluate and make sure that you're still aligned, or to tap back into these tools to check your mindset. So
And the proposal here is going to the mental gym will be to utilize emotional intelligence tools that we're going to discuss about in order to then make this upgrade to see if we are still aligned with that season that we're currently going through.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, this is a great setup. Without further ado, Optical Emotions. Congratulations, Laura, on publishing this book just a couple weeks ago, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
It was the 3rd of October when it went live, the hardcover and the paperback version in Amazon. So I'm really, really happy about it.
Yeah, good for you. That is that talk about a milestone in life, right? I think a lot of us as leaders, entrepreneurs have great ideas and we all aspire to write a book. I know that's on my list, in my BHAG, big hairy audacious goal in 3 to 5 years. So I love having the opportunity to speak with authors and just pick their brains a little bit. How long did this book take you? When did you start this?
Actually, it was during COVID
Yeah,
because I
and a lot
was
of books were written during that. What a great opportunity. I know COVID was really horrible and it destroyed and we lost a lot of lives, but there was a lot of positivity and a lot of opportunity for those that took advantage of it and saw it as such. So what was your motivation for writing the book? Tell us about the motivation, the story, how you came up with the name. I know your son had some influence on this, which is very
yes.
cool. I love reading about that. So I'll just kind of give it over to you and just tell us about this journey.
So it was an interesting time as for all of us. COVID was a game changer for what we were used to do in our daily lives. To here in Zurich or in Switzerland as a whole, we went to at the beginning with a lot of confinement. So you were just allowed to go briefly out, which was looking at a challenge and taking perhaps the good side of it. As you mentioned before, I know for some people it was really a difficult time and lives were taken through this disease. But for me, it gave me the opportunity to have this additional time that I never had because you're running errands. You're, as a mom, you're doing things, driving around, work, other things, but having to be home the whole day, I had this additional hour in the morning, perhaps hour in the afternoon. And on weekends, of course, a lot of time to spare because we had to stay sometimes at home. So what happened is I was starting with my blog. I started with my blog in 2018, and then I was seeing some sort of a thread. Okay, this topic could be linked to emotional intelligence because of related to resilience. Oh, this has to do with conscious adaptability. Oh, this has to do with self-management. So then I started to do like a mind map and try to put blocks together with the idea that we have always thing we have heard is you see everybody sees life with a different color glasses, like some people more rosy, some people more in a gray stone, depending of how do you experience life. So I thought, oh, that's a really good analogy, but I wanted to bring it to a book. So how can I put that together?
Hmm.
And then for each mental model or for each mindset, I decided to create like a character based on an eyeglass model or an eyewear model, which was the pessimist when you see the very
Hmm.
almost like augmented glasses to see the world because you look basically more to the worst case scenario type of attitude. The conformer, have you seen those foldable glasses because you are conforming to what the environment tells you and you're not putting yourself there in the center. And that's how these 8 mental models came live, plus the ninth, which is the 2020 vision. When we try to put then emotional intelligence into the play, how do we can shift our prescription from our glasses, but trying to challenge this mental model or this mindset. So that was the first part of it. So during COVID, the second part was also because I saw myself always as a doer. I was doing and doing and doing since high school, and I was thinking like, why do I see the world as a place where I always have to measure myself against my productivity or how many chores I do each day or how many recipes do I cook for the weekend? Everything that had to do personally or professionally was always linked to a task. And only until this task came about and I was completed, I got the sense of gratification. I
Mm.
was like, oh, so what emotion what was I linking to all of this process? Why was I only was waiting to be happy or to experience joy when I did these tasks. And then I sat back and I say, but not everybody got the same memo. I have colleagues which were
I got
super
it.
late.
I got the memo. I'm the same as you. Same thing. So I'm sitting here going, yep, yep, that was me. I need my list, check it off, and then I'm moving on to the next one. I'm like not happy. I thought I would be because I checked it off, and then there's five more. I'm like, damn, I got to go back, and if I don't do it, I'm beating up myself. No grace. So sorry, but
Guilt
yeah,
trips, not being grateful to be in the moment, not
yeah,
enjoying the present moment is the guilt trip. Oh, I have to run and do the next errand, whatever that may be.
yeah.
From laundry to going to the office and finishing a
Hmm.
project. And what happened there is when I started questioning me, I see some colleagues at work or friends which are much more relaxed. They must be interpreting the world from a totally different glass, of a different perspective, especially
Hmm.
during COVID, because I felt very caged in a way. Because I'm
Mm,
doing, I want to do things, and suddenly you are not allowed to do things
yep.
legally. I
Hmm.
mean, it was
Right,
you were not allowed to do many
right,
of the things that we took for granted before.
right.
And then I thought, but oh, so how is this process being digested by many people? Then I thought there must be some people which are dreamers. There must be some people which are more laid back, which are going through this process in a totally different, tackling the situation in a different manner.
Hmm.
And that's how the whole process started to evolve. Like situation, what we were living, and trying to make sense for myself, and research that I had for my PhD, putting all of this together. And also, as I mentioned, some inspiration from my son, which these are your bigger teachers. Like, Mom, why are you always run? Why can't you just sit with me and do the homework once, and
Hmm.
before you start doing supper or whatever it was? But all of these things that started to fall into place, and my will to see the world through another glass, because I learned, and we're going to discuss, perhaps we're more than that. We're holistic human beings. We have a place to be dreamers. We have a place that perhaps we are pessimists because of something that we live in the past. We tend to be saviors at times because we want to live our passion, and to help others.
Hmm.
That's our innate nature. So what does it mean, the same situation for the different mental models?
Right.
And that's how it came about.
That's cool. Great. And I love that, you're admitting to struggling. Here you are, PhD, been studying this for years. You're also an emotional intelligence coach, but you're not perfect as much as, and you probably are a perfectionist, right? Or probably were. Yep. So that
Yes.
I picked that up and I'm like, yep, I am too. I'm going to do a whole episode on that. It's such an important topic. But the key here is, you were able to identify, you were self-aware enough to say, this just this doesn't feel right. I can't, this isn't sustainable. I can't continue down this path. And it's not just me. There are other people in my life that I'm not being able to serve in the way that I want to and should be, especially, being a mother, being a parent. So I love that you put it out there. You said, look, I'm not perfect. I struggle with this, and this is what kind of pushed me, enabled me to start formulating these ideas and mapping these out. And here is this wonderful book. So I love that. And I will say, like, this book is phenomenal. And I'm not just saying that because you're on the show. I've read a lot. I think I mentioned this to you. I have a very high emotional intelligence. I've been doing the work. I continue to do the work. Been doing it for 3, 4 years now. I went through the positive intelligence program, which we talked about. Shirzad Shamin, amazing program, changed my life forever. And there's a lot of similarities. This book that you created would be a great complement to that book. If somebody picks up both those books and goes through both those programs, you will be a machine. You will be an amazing, the most fulfilled, the most happy person on this earth. I truly believe that. So highly recommend the book. We'll have it in the show notes and we'll have links to it and we're going to get into it more. But I just wanted to mention that. And what I also really loved about the book, Laura, oftentimes when a PhD gets into writing a book and there's tons of research involved, which is great, right? You got to have some research, you got to have some science, right? Those are the most successful topics and books. But sometimes they can get a little inundated with the data And for us lay people, even though I'm very experienced on the topic, I usually read 9, 10 o'clock at night when the family's asleep, and it can get a little tough to go through, but not your book. You have the data, you have the research, so you have the credibility and you've done the work. You've been doing this for a long time, but you really presented it in a way that makes it so easy and fun to go through. So I just want people to know that. Like when you hear emotional intelligence backed by a bunch of research, don't be afraid or feel like this isn't something that you could dive into. And you mentioned in the book, you don't have to go cover to end. You can just pick up a section and just wade through it. And I love that too, not feeling confined that I got to start here, as a perfectionist, I want to get to the end and, check it off. But it was really an enjoyable book, an easy read, easy in that it was just nice and pleasant, and you give a lot of stories, and I love that. And they're real stories, right? These were actual people that you encountered or coached or met, and some are strangers, and then you apply it to each of the mental models. And for readers, it allows us to see ourselves in that person, and it makes it so much more relatable. And that's what I
Yes.
love about books like that and about your book. So it's the examples and just the way that it was structured, taking you through. And the eyeglass analogy that was brilliant, honestly, because a lot of these concepts can be hard to wrap your head around. But when you can put a familiar metaphor analogy in place, that makes it a lot easier to digest. So anyhow, just kudos to you, and just kind of setting up, the book and what it's all about and how easy it is to get through. So yeah, with that being said, let's talk through it. So take us through the book and how it's set up and what people might get out of it.
Yes. So, linking it to what you said before, after doing the PhD, when I set myself to write the book, I said, I want to write a book with the least footnotes possible. Relatable, and it doesn't feel like a heavy thing. It has to, in order for us to absorb information, the lighter, the more relatable, the more linked to a story, it's easier to be able to create a link to those characters which are mentioned in the book. So the book starts, and I have it here with me, it starts very, very general, trying to discuss what is a mindset. Why do we create a mindset? And how mindsets and perceptions are constantly being played in our life, which then create some sort of personality or some sort of modus operandi, as I call it in the book, that if we don't challenge that, then we are just running the day through these glasses. And there's always a cost for it. This is
Hmm.
also discussed in the book. For these 8 mental models, there is a character attached to it, plus the glasses that they are wearing. And there's always a cost. We need to know that we will only assert a behavior if we experience either pain or joy. And if we're not in a situation where we really can relate to that and really say, okay, if I continue to do things like this way, it's more the service that I'm doing to me and to my family, to my community, to my company. That's where the behavior starts then to start being reshaped. But only when we get to that level of self-awareness
Hmm.
and willingness to then open the closet and go through all the dirty clothes that we have been hanging there for a
Right.
while, if
All
you
the
want to say.
skeletons.
Yes.
Yeah,
So, and this takes courage.
it
Not
does.
everybody will be wanting to do that. And the main issue is that if things don't get really, really bad and we don't see that there is a need for me to do that, or some triggering point in my life that will move me towards that, it will be difficult for the reader, or for somebody who's willing to go. You go to a training, but if you're not really willing to do this change in order to have a more well-being and a more, let's say, more a happier life at the end of the
Hmm.
day, a more fulfilling life with contentment, with peace, you will not do it. So this book is for people who want to do that extra mile. I always say when people come to me to the trainings, it's like by being here half a day, 1 day seminar, you're not You will hear the concepts, but it's up to you to go and put them into practice.
Hmm.
And nobody else can do that for you.
That's right.
And therefore, everybody, I want to make it relatable because everybody's at a different stage on their development, on their personal development. And you cannot throw all of these very hard concepts right away. Even for some experienced people, it's too much to digest. And on the
Hmm.
same time, you're doing your internal work, you need to go easy on it. So that's how I decided to tackle it.
Hmm.
Once this is somehow we set the stage to see the different mental models, there is an app, or in the book by itself, there's also the pencil and pen questionnaire. You can use the app to the app will
Hmm.
do the job for you. He will add and subtract some numbers that you have to do there in order then to predefine which are your they will appear in descending order, which are your most predominant mental models. We tend to move between two or three, and these are the ones we feel more comfortable with, and these are the ones who shape our personality. Therefore, leaving our personality behind is harmful. So you have to be aware that once you go to this list, you will have to sit back and see, is this really me? Go back to the book and say, what are some traits? Are these traits that are recognizing me? And this is a framework. I try to give a framework. There are some traits that will be one to one, and some that could be that not they are not too much apparent in your modus operandi, or the way that you judge, or the way that you create narrative. But I wanted to create a framework that we have the discussion. It's not a black and white book. And then after that, I match the mental model or the eyewear glass type with the emotional intelligence skills. And then there's 34 cognitive behavioral therapy exercises at the end of the book. Very short, summarized, 15 to 20 minutes. You can do one in a month, two in a week. This is about the tempo of the reader, and then start this introspection journaling, discussing with other people. What do they see in me? What are my strengths? Where I'm falling short, by the different uh, soft skills that are aligned throughout the book. So this is basically the book in a nutshell.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it. And you're right, the exercises are super easy and you don't have to have a coach to go through this. So, you can buy the book. I forget what it costs, 20, $30. Um, and it you have the tools. But like you said, just with any personal growth, you have to make that choice.
Yes.
So you have the control. Everybody is capable of it. We are built to evolve, but you have to make that choice. You can have the tools, you can have a coach, you can have all these different aspects that can help you get to that next level, but you have to make that choice and you have to do the work. I said I went through the positive intelligence program and I had a lot of work to do. I struggle with patience and a temper, and that book allowed me to build my mental muscle, like you talked about, and allowed me to build a pause button inside, of my brain that allowed me to just stop and reflect and not react. And that changed my life. But that took a lot of work and it took about a year. And I still have my moments, but they're far and few. And my recovery is like minutes. And I'm back to that positive. I can reframe. And that's key. It's not only doing the work and getting there, but it's the recovery when you do have some slip ups because we're human. We're all going to have those little blips, right? We can't think of it from a perfectionist mindset. That is the worst mindset you could have, right? It won't do you any good. But yeah, it's really easy to go through, and there's also an app. So we'll have a QR code in the show notes or in the video as well. So you can go take the app and it's a quiz. So I did the app last night. And when I read the book, I thought I was going to be the mental model of a doer, which you are, and it just kind of made sense. That was very low on the list. My highest rating was a savior. And I was really surprised by that. But I went back into the book and I started reading through it, and it makes a lot of sense. And it really got me thinking about why am I a savior? And I think it goes back to and I'd be curious to get your thoughts, but going back to childhood and going through high school and college and I have a coach and a high performance coach and we continue to work through this, but I have this level of guilt of not allowing myself to be happy and be successful because I don't know, I just feel like, I've made so many mistakes and I've done some stupid things over the years and maybe not been, the best person that I could be. And I don't feel like I deserve it. So there's that savior piece of, well, if I go and I devote all this time and effort to helping other people, that's going to make me feel happy and feel, like I'm doing the right thing. So yeah, there was a lot of interesting feedback and exercises in the book to really have me reflect on. But yeah, I was surprised by the Savior. So I'm going to go through some of those exercises and just the reflection part. It just made me think about, well, maybe there are some things. And I've done a lot of work, so a lot of the things that you mentioned there, I'm like, yep, I did that, and that's not me because I've done this work. But there is still something there, and I think for me, I'm that very resourceful person, and I have a big network, so a lot of people and a hard work ethic. So a lot of people will reach out to me for help and they know that I love to help. So my biggest challenge going forward is saying no, just that I want to, and I have that guilt and I need to recognize and be self-aware of that, but I can't help everybody. And this year has been interesting. I've had more people reach out for just a variety of reasons. And I just, I had to pick and choose like which ones made the most sense for me and would make me the most fulfilled and really needed my help. But I had to say no to a few, and that hurt. That was tough. And I'm going to continue to struggle with that, right? So I don't know. What are your thoughts on all that?
Because uh, trying to go to the mental gym, it takes energy. So every action or everything that we do is saying to something yes, you're saying to something no, right? As you said before. But it's very important for the savior model and the experience I had with other people that I know them, and with the test they also came as saviors. It was they had this guilt of not being accepted if they were more than the rest. So
Mm,
what you do in order to get this acceptance? So I just help you, that you feel that we're buddies, that I'm with you in this one. But along the way, yes, it has a part where you get some gratification. But if you don't tend for your needs first, you're depleted and you don't have energy anymore to tend for you. So the one of the clients I had once was she was putting so much help in supporting her peers that when it came to promotions, the other ones were getting promoted because she always helped them
mm,
to do stuff or to finish some work at the workplace, but she was not raising her voice. She was helping the other ones to raise. And
right.
then when it was time for her to speak up, she said, I was exhausted because the whole week I was helping somebody else to do that. And then she said, this savior part of me helps me into a certain stand, or to a certain point. But then I had to learn, as you say, to say no in order to tend to my needs and also look for myself. As she said, I also have to pay the bills. I mean, I have
Right.
I have somebody else, and
Right.
that's nice, but I also have to look for myself. So
Mm,
that was another story. And this is the guilt, and this is the sense of community we want to be a part of, that we don't want to be rejected, and we want to feel that we're giving and receiving. And when you feel that you are not really focusing on others but on you, that can also have this connotation of being selfish, and you don't want to come across like a selfish person. So that's also the other argument that the savior has, like, oh no, I'm not helping, that means I don't care, and
yeah.
that's not the case.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. You have to do the work for yourself, right? You can't be selfish. And it doesn't come off as being selfish. It actually comes off as, excuse me, being brilliant because you're you're taking time to work on your personal growth. And you say it in the book, working on yourself is going to allow you to help more people. And I love the story about, is it Alan or Alain?
And which the nurse, which was always like giving
Yeah,
himself too much
right.
for
He
the
had a
others,
broken
and then
shoulder and he just kept going and going. But when you met with him, and I love that you took the time. Here's this stranger you just met by happen chance. You were both, in the ER
Yeah.
waiting room, and then you ended up, I believe, probably forming a really great relationship. And it took a while. You didn't give up. You kept up on this guy, and he wasn't paying you. You just wanted to help him out. You wanted to help him out, ironically, and his struggle was helping out too much. And he needed to
Exactly.
reflect and work on himself, but it was deep rooted in him trying to prove himself to his
His
parents and not
father. Yeah.
not
Yeah.
going to be a doctor. And so again, going back to just having this really interesting, relatable story. It's not a fable. These are real people that you've met.
Yes.
And I love that one and I can relate to it. And that's me. Like I will, you don't tell me. I'm like Rocky and I'll scratch and claw and I'll do the work and I don't care if my shoulder's broken. But at the end of the day, you have to reflect and say, this is not doing me a justice. I can do more and be better if I can take care of myself. So, and I think there's a lot of people that can relate to that. It's tough. It's tough, and everybody needs to do this work. I don't care where you're at on the level or if you're just now being introduced to emotional intelligence. It will help you be a better person. There is no doubt in my mind, and I'm sure you'll attest to that. You've done it. You're a coach, emotional intelligence coach, and you've written this book and you've done the research. It's there. It's the proof is in the pudding. It's there. So I just encourage everyone to give it a chance. And it's all about you got to be self-aware. That's okay.
Yes.
It's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Doesn't mean that you're not macho man anymore. You can get in tune with your emotions. It will make you a stronger, more balanced, more focused, more resilient, more empathetic, a better leader, a better husband, a better friend. Who doesn't want that? Or why wouldn't you want that, right?
And the thing is that life will throw us every single day something different in our plate. So if you do that, just knowing that perhaps you have additional tools to get you there to be the better partner, the better husband, the better parent, as you said, who doesn't want to be there? And if you can do that by just tweaking with some very practical tools, just go once a day, 10 to 20 minutes to do some sort of introspection on the exercise of the book, that really starts shaping your mindset and really trying to see it from another perspective. Then the next day, perhaps when you're confronted with something similar, then you already have somehow of an experience how it went. And I wrote the book and I know about the topic, but it is a struggle every single day, something new that we have to tackle with. And if somebody comes at you at the workplace and they don't talk to you nicely, sometimes you're also like not you're not being assertive at that moment. And
Mhm.
then you're like thinking, why didn't I say this? Why? Even if you know the whole theory, we are always confronted. And if we can bring something uh, to the people that they can really then have a more fulfilling life, the better. Because then I feel as well that it's not you're benefiting somebody, but you're having this spillover effect because there will be a better partner and a better husband, and then so many other people will benefit from this spiral of positive or collective consciousness,
The ripple, we call it the ripple.
the
The
ripple
ripple
effect.
effect, right? So
Yeah.
it's not just you, it's all the people that you serve, and then they're going to take that. It's like social media, it just compounds. But it's doing the work, making a choice, doing the work, and being consistent, and then
Yes.
it becomes habit, right? But sometimes you need to check that habit. Habits are great, but sometimes it can get you in a cycle and you get stuck, or you're in a new season of life, and it's a habit, like you said. And I love that. I love the analogy of the eyeglass because we do. As we get older, I didn't need the glasses forever, and I finally did. I was watching Jeopardy one day. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't even read the questions anymore. And then I'm going to need to upgrade those, right? Every 5, 10 years. And that's a great way to think about this. We just all need to do that reflection. And that honestly, that's been the key. The key for me, I love journaling. I'm big on journaling every day, even a couple of points, and then, a little bit more involved on a monthly basis and doing the meditation and just reflecting and being aware. That's the key. And it takes time and practice, but just start small and watch that growth take shape, right?
Exactly.
Yeah,
One step at a time.
one step at a time. So what's next, Laura? Are you thinking about another book already, or are you just taking a breath and doing some shows, some interviews, really trying to get the book out there? Anything?
It's
What's your big, hairy, audacious goal after this? TED Talk? Because I could totally see you being on a TED Talk with this.
And it is so strange because this happened many years ago. I went in a business trip. I went to Madrid and I was there on the hotel and I just went to a bookshop, and the book that spoke to me the most was TED Talk, and I was like, but why would I need this book now? You know.
Mm,
And now in retrospect, oh, the other day I was going like, oh, this could be perhaps something that I can start reading. So the whole methodology, how does this work,
hmm
and what skills do you need to make a conversation relatable at the end of the day to reach more people? And this is something that I think I could see on my bucket list
hmm
going forward, but it takes a lot of courage and to be vulnerable in a sense.
Oh,
That
oh,
yes,
absolutely. Even more so than writing a book, right? Because you're on the stage. You have,
exactly.
what is it, 12, 15 minutes, and you're putting yourself out there. It's recorded. It's going to be out to the world. It's on the internet. There's going to be a video of it. I mean, I think you should. Personally, I know I'm waiting to find that topic that's really going to get me amped, that's backed by science that I can really take and share. And that's why the podcast and doing all this is helping me formulate those materials. But you have it. You have it right here in this wonderful book. So I think that's an excellent bucket list item for you. So I look forward to seeing that, watching that.
And I think the next step is to really now start to spread the word,
Hmm
because always these topics are a little bit, the words seem a little bit, this is not like our daily language when you talk about assertiveness, about decision making process. So it sounds a little bit daunting for some people which have not have access to this material before. But what I want is to spread the word that this is not rocket science, that this is reachable, or this is possible for anybody to
hmm
go to this process, and that it's not rocket science. It's just the will. And I think that the funny thing, and thank you for asking that question, because somebody asked, okay, then you went up on the hill. So once you're there, and then you look down, it's like, oh, now what's next? Now I
hmm
have to have a strategy to start putting this to the next level. So I
hmm
think spreading the word will be the first one, and then trying to do trainings related to the content of the book will be something that I would love to do for 2025. So putting already the vision there in order
hmm
to the neurons follow that neural path is created, and then I can create this new habit of going
Right.
towards this
Yep.
objective.
Practice what you preach. Yep. Awesome. Well, that's great. I'm excited to watch and see where this journey takes you. I know it's going to be nothing but positive and great things that are ahead for you. We're going to leave a ton of links in the show notes so people can download. Oh, you have a ton of downloads, a thermometer, these cue cards. You can take the quiz. You can read the blog. Obviously, buy the book. Highly recommend buying this book. So we'll have all those in the show notes and then links to Laura's website and all of her social media so you can follow her. And I love some of the things that you've been posting lately. It's a very positive and thought-provoking ideas. So I highly recommend that. And Laura has been kind enough to offer 2 free books, which is cool. So for our first 2 listeners who email me at thebolt@toddbirch.com, we will coordinate with you and get you a free book. So thank you, Laura, for doing that. I think that's an awesome way just to kick off, this book tour, if you will.
Thank you, and happy also to connect with people via LinkedIn.
Hmm
Answer questions also related with the podcast or via Todd. Please feel free. It's about getting the conversation going. It's about motivating people wanting to go to the mental gym. So I think if we achieve that, I will be super, super happy. That will be like the icing on the cake after being part of this podcast.
I love that. I love that. Just being a servant leader and wanting to give back. And I mean, it took me a long time to find happiness, but I found it and I'm continuing to do the work. But I just want everyone to have the opportunity to be aware that they can, right? And just make that choice. You don't need a life coach, although it certainly helps. You just need to have the will, like you said, to make a choice to go try it. And they are simple things. It just takes time and it takes the work, but everybody's capable. So great message. Laura, I thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to meet you and to share your story with our listeners. The book, again, is amazing. I think it should be a New York Times bestseller, but either way, there's going to be opportunity for you with a TED Talk and so many other things that you're going to do. So I appreciate you and thank you from Switzerland, having this conversation on a beautiful Friday morning. I can see the sunlight shining through. We have this, I had to put this black drape up because it was just, it was blowing me out in terms of the lights. But we have a beautiful day here in Akron, Ohio as well. So I'm excited. I'm juiced up for the day. I'm happy, joyful. Those are the emotions that I'm feeling right now. And I'm just going to carry those throughout the day. And I'm grateful that we made this connection, Laura. Thank you so much.
Same here. And thank you because emotions are contagious. And now I'm really feeling the vibe as well. Really, really grateful and happy to have closed my day in this very special note. So thanks, Todd, as well.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Bolt Podcast. You're on an inspiring journey of growth, transformation, and joy, and I'm honored to be a part of it. If you found this episode valuable, please like, share it with your friends, and consider leaving a review. It means the world to us. For show notes, resources, and to subscribe to the weekly Motivational Monday newsletter, please visit toddbirch.com. And don't forget to follow us on social media at The Bolt with Todd B for more inspiration. Remember, real change doesn't happen overnight, folks. Start small, stay consistent, and watch as your growth unfolds. See you next time.